Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
Check. What up, world? It's the man with the plan, Burt McGurk, a.k.a. PR, the King of Hearts, and you are now tuned into Clocking Out, the podcast you listen to when you need to get motivated and inspired to doing bigger and better things. What is going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Clocking Out. I'm your host, Burt McGurk, a.k.a. PR, the King of Hearts. How you doing? How you living? How you been? Today, we have a new guest speaker with us who goes by the name on social media, Blaze. Blaze, how are you doing?
What's up, PR? We're doing well. I'm at home. One of three kids might be asleep right now. My wife's upstairs trying to wrangle all of them, and we're doing all right. The vibes were kind of crazy tonight. It's the first week of summer, so there's 10 weeks of summer, and we're only in week one, which from one perspective is great because I think kids need a break from school. But from the other perspective, it's a lot more responsibility on the parents right now trying to figure out, is my kid going to camp? Is my kid staying home? What's my kid going to eat? Who's taking care of who? And it's tough. But we made it through the first 4 days of summer, or the first 3 days of summer. So there you go.
I hear you, man. Trust me. I've been dealing with the same thing, too. My son's last day was today. My daughter finished all her schooling and testing last week. So now it's to the thing of like, even though they finished their school as parents, we still got to work. We still got like the day to day. We still have things. So it's like it changes our schedule. It changes what we have to do. So now it's adapting to that and trying to do something where making sure they're staying active, making sure that they're being watched and taken care of. So I totally understand I understand where you're coming from with that. And I know it's like things get a little bit more hectic during the summer because they have a lot of free time and you're trying your best to just make sure that they're staying positively active and that you're doing what you have to do, but at the same time you're letting them enjoy the summer as well. So I understand how hard that is to balance sometimes. So before we get into the episode, I always like to give our guest speakers a chance to introduce themselves, tell us their names, where they're from, and give a little bit of background of who they are and what they're working on and their experience and whatever it is that they have an interest and a passion for. So could you give us a little bit of information of who Blaze is before we get started, my man?
Oh, man, yeah. I was a manager for 7 years, so I always look at this like I'm always like, oh, I feel like I'm in a job interview right now, and I got to give like my background. But I feel like I have to go even like farther back, because people need to know who Little Blaze is.
Yep.
So hey, everybody, my name is Blaze. I'm a registered nurse. I've been a nurse for the past, I'm 36, 22, 14 years, almost 15 years, and I'm from Akron, Ohio. And so you know who's from Akron, Ohio, right? PR.
No.
LeBron James.
LeBron James, yes.
So LeBron James from Akron, Ohio, and he graduated probably 3 years before me, and he's one of the greatest athletes of all time. And so I always joke around like, oh yeah, LeBron's from Akron. He grew up like 3 miles away, which I think is true. Did I ever run into him? I saw him at Applebee's once, like after his like first or second year. Other than that, I don't have any relationship with LeBron, but I think he's the man. I think he's doing a good job. So I grew up in Akron, Ohio for 18 years, kind of. Also, when I was 16, and I think this just boils down to like my work ethic and how hard I work right now, because I probably always have my hands in like 5, 6, 7 different things. But I lived in Hawaii for 6 months when I was 16 because I had a paper route for 4 years where I was getting up with my dad every morning at 4:30 a.m. We'd go get 150 newspapers and we'd deliver them in our neighborhood. And I probably did that for 4 years. I always tell people like, listen, I was 5'6" when I was 12. If I wouldn't have done that paper route, I'd be like 6'2", 6'3". You'd see me like in the NBA, the NFL. But that's who knows? But anyways, so one day I was really upset with my dad because I missed this party. There's this girl I want to say what's up to or something like that. And I was like, Dad, you stole my childhood with this paper route, man. Like I could have been in this party. And like your kids say these things sometimes that they don't mean. And like I've experienced with my kids now too. And it just like, it's strange, like it hits your heart chord. And so I think when I said that in that moment, it hit like a heart chord with my own father. And so he let me go move with my aunt in Hawaii for when I was in junior year of high school. And she kicked me out after 6 months because I was having a good time. But anyway, but for the most part, I grew up in Akron, Ohio, but if I would have never lived in Hawaii, I would have never became a registered nurse. Because when I first moved out there, my cousins didn't live there anymore, but my aunt like set me up to go out with some of their friends, which were like 3, 4 years older. And so, they're like 21, 22. I'm 16. And so, like, where did they end up taking me? To a bar that like underage kids could go to. And I wasn't drinking or anything there, but I was playing billiards with like these old Hawaiian guys. And I was sitting there playing pool one day, and this guy is like, I'm gonna go be a nurse. I'm like, man, why would you want to go be a nurse? Like, only girls can be nurses. He's like, nah, dude, nah, you're the minority then. And he's like, you work with a bunch of women, you work 3 days a week, the pay's pretty decent, and you can either do a 2-year program or a 4-year program. And I thought, man, all right, that sounds pretty good. And it was that moment when I was 16 years old that I decided I was going to become a registered nurse. So that was that was when I was 16. And so after that, I ended up going to school in Cleveland, Ohio, at a place called Case Western Reserve. I did the 4-year thing, got in, got out. I have a lot of debt, or I had a lot of debt because of that. And, fast forward real quick and we'll rewind. 14 years later, I was a staff nurse for 5 years after I graduated. I was in nursing leadership for 7 years. And last week, after going to VCon and listening to Gary, I decided to quit my job because my work was requiring me to be so present with them that I didn't feel like I was present with my family. And I've been telling people for the past like 3 or 4 years, these are my priorities: God, family, work, God, family, work, God, family, work. But I wasn't living that. And that's what I was trying. By saying it enough times, I thought I was living it, and then really breaking it down, it's like I wasn't. So that's when, then rewind. So I was a nurse for 5 years. Is there like music in the background?
Yeah, there is.
Oh, okay. I
I have a really low. I'm sorry. You want me to turn it off?
No. If you just turn it down like a little bit, I was like, do I have an app open? I was like,
No, I'm sorry about that. I got you.
No, I love the background soundtrack. So after that, I was a nurse for 5 years. I was in nursing leadership for 7, and I held nursing leadership positions across 5 different hospitals in 3 different states. So I met my wife in Cleveland, Ohio. Then we moved to Columbus, Ohio. Then we moved to Boston, Massachusetts, and now we're in Rochester, New York. And when we were in Boston, I worked at 2 different hospitals because when I was at the first hospital for 2 years, I didn't feel that my mission was the hospital's mission. And so in that moment, or at least my leadership style didn't align with their leadership style. So that's when I felt like I had to move to a different position. So throughout all of that, I feel I am a nurse at my foundation, but I've been a nurse manager leading people longer than I've been an actual registered nurse, if that makes sense. And so I always think that people would tell me this, that I'm one of the best bosses to work for, because I always tell people, listen, I care about you first. I care about the job that you do second. And I had people working for me. I had peers that I worked with. Like, there's so many people that I've talked to that then went and quit their job to go find something better. Cause I'm like, listen, you have one family. This is one life. There's thousands, if not millions of different opportunities. And if you start a job, like, this isn't 1960 where, your dad, my grandpa, my grandfather, or anyone else, they start a job and they stick with it for 40 years. Like, I've had like 10 or 11 jobs in the past 7 years. And like, I think back to some of the people that I worked with, and I hope they're happy. I mean, it's okay to stay in the same job for so long, but I just think about like how many people I wouldn't have met, how many different experiences I wouldn't have had if I was in the same position for so long. And again, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that that's not the life experience that I chose for myself. And I always thought I would just stay in Cleveland, Ohio forever. But I always tease and joke around about this. And I don't know if my wife likes this joke or not. But some people are like, man, Blaze, like, why'd you move around so much? I'm always telling them, that's the price of monogamy. Because my wife, she's a physician, and she like did a fellowship in Cleveland, and then she got a job in Columbus, and then she got a job in Boston, and then we wanted to move closer to family in Rochester, because 3 kids and no family around. It's horrible, absolutely horrible. And now we got the family. My parents are trying to move here now from Ohio too. So that's kind of like my background and my origin story of where I've been over the past 7 years. I've got went back and got my master's in healthcare leadership. I'm a certified nurse manager leader. I'm a certified medical surgical nurse. Um, and so how my trajectory went, I was a registered nurse for 5 years, assistant nurse manager for 6 months, switched hospitals, assistant manager for a year, nurse manager for a year. Then I moved to Boston. I was a nurse director for 2 years. Then I was the employee health director for a year. And then when I moved from Boston to Rochester, I actually had to take a step back because there's no director positions that would interview me. Um, and when I asked about that, like being there for 6 months, they were like, we didn't want to hire any. I don't know why, but um, sometimes people like get scared of hiring people, I think, in different leadership positions because they didn't grow up in that organization, which I can understand that from some perspective. But I always believe that like the more diversity, the better.
Yes.
And like especially like diversity experiences and cultures and races and all that stuff. Um, but so then I was a nurse manager for like 8 months, and like I saw Gary and I'm like thinking about like at VCon last year and I'm thinking like, man, I don't know if I enjoy this job. I enjoy serving the people, I enjoy serving the patients, but mixing it all together with my family, I'm like, I don't feel like I'm my best self right now, really out of shape, um, and just not living the life that I wanted for myself. And then some nurses called out on Father's Day last year, and the nursing supervisor calls me and she's like, hey, we got to run your floor short today, we don't have enough nurses. And I'm like, well, I'm going to come in. And she's like, well, you don't have to come in, we'll just do what we got to do. And I'm like, no, 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 like this is my people, these are my people, this is who I'm responsible for, I'm not having them run that short. So I went in for Father's Day, and it was really upsetting for me because that was the day that my kids had planned for me. And I just felt, you know what, I can't be both places at once. And it was that moment where I'm like, I don't think this is the right job for me because I can't give 100% of myself to these 60 people at the hospital. And I can't give 100% of myself to these 3 kids, my wife, my dog that I'm raising. And so I'm like, I just got to get out of this. And so I still have like a lot of regret behind it because like being there for 8 months with that team, like I formed a lot of like great relationships, and I really enjoyed working with the cancer patients that I was over and the oncology nurses that I got to work with. But at the end of the day, like they can leave that job and come and go, but I'm always going to be these kids' father. And so as a, I'm always, I always have a second. I don't want to say I always have a backup plan, but I had started teaching part time like 3 months earlier, and I talked to the dean of the nursing school and I'm like, hey, you have an open position for me? And she's like, 100%. And it was really cool because I still got to stay under the umbrella of the hospital that I really like, the hospital system I work for. It's called Rochester Regional Health. And so I get to teach nurses now, and I love, love, love the program that I get to teach in. Because when I graduated nursing school, I mean, I had my bachelor's in 4 years at 22, which is great. But I also had, I don't know, 120, $130 in student debt.
Guys.
Yeah. And I'm teaching LPNs becoming RNs. So these are people that already have their LPN, and then after a year, they have their RN. So like technically, they could have 2 years of school and have their RN. And I think that's awesome because maybe, just maybe, like at the max 50K in student debt, but like I want to say more to like 10 or 20. And our hospital has a really cool program where if you commit to work there for 3 years, they'll erase all your debt. So it's almost like you went to nursing school for free. And we're probably one of the nursing schools, top 10 or 20%, I bet, that serves like the most diverse patient student population. So like 90% of our students are minorities. I'm guessing that number. I don't have like the hard data, but I'm very, very big on diversity, especially diversity in nursing. I've been on all these like different diversity councils and stuff throughout my journey. So that's kind of like my nursing background, and that all of that's built up to VeeDads. Because again, going back to what I was saying, God, family, work, God, family, work, God, family, work. So with VeeDads, I'd always tell my staff or the people that I worked with or had the honor to be over, like, listen, God, family, work. Just because work is number 3, it doesn't mean I don't care very deeply about the work that I do. And I still care very deeply about the work that I do, but I'm always going to care about my family more. And so I thought to myself, why am I not doing something that involves my family? And so like, I got into crypto like 2 years ago, and then I got into NFTs from crypto, and then I checked out VeeFriends. I still don't have a V1. So Gary, if you want to send me an eel, I'm here. PR needs something too. Hook him up.
Oh yeah.
And so I got some book games, and I got 3 V2s, and I got an energetic electric eel, a protected panther, and a gentle giant. I gave the gentle giant away a couple months ago just because I couldn't figure out what to do with it. The protected panther I'm going to keep because that's his rookie NFT, so it is like a first edition because it's one of the newer characters. And then like I'll never let go of the energetic electric eel, because every time, because like I said, I've been in like 10 different jobs. Almost every job that I've left, I've had someone reach out or message me, and they're always like, we're going to miss your energy, we're going to miss your energy, we're going to miss your energy. And like I honestly believe that like I'm never going to say my energy is better or worse, but the energy that I put out into the world, I don't think anyone can match it. And I'm not saying like your energy or anyone else's energy is again like worse or
No,
better than mine, but like,
I hear you.
yeah, I feel that I have a unique perspective. We all have unique perspectives. But going through VeeDads and like talking with Ryan more, like, and doing our shows and stuff, he's like, man, you're a really good storyteller. And no one's ever told me that before. Like I always felt that like I just like to tell stories, but he's one of the first, and I love Ryan so much, and we're always being like, man, like this is really cool that you do that, and it's really cool to have like somebody you're partnering with and kind of like business and dadding life and stuff like that to be like point out things that you just think's a cool thing about you, but it's really like that's a really strong attribute. Like like when I look at you, I'm always like, man, like and I know I've talked to you about your I'm still trying to recruit you at some point to do some video editing stuff for me. But like you're saying, oh, I just do this and that. It's like, I can't do that. Like I'd have to watch like 15 or 20 YouTube videos. I'd have to like go through like probably like 25 different things. But so just so you know, you do a really good job.
I appreciate that.
And you also do like a really good job with these podcasts by just I feel relaxed, like, because some people are like hunched over, like
Yeah.
so thank you for that.
Oh no,
Anyways,
thank you.
yeah. But then so got into VeeFriends, and actually when I went to VCon last year, didn't know anybody, didn't eat food with anyone. I think maybe 5 people knew my name when I left, and the only reason anyone knew my name is because I signed up to be a VCon volunteer. And I don't know why I bought a ticket, but I bought a ticket. But then I was a VCon volunteer as well. You were a VCon last year, right?
Yes, I went last year. Yep.
I mean, you didn't say what's up to me, but that's all right.
I don't think we saw each other, did we?
My Twitter presence was practically non-existent before VCon. So like I truly didn't know anyone. I think I had a Twitter account, and I had been on a couple of spaces listening to other people. Like I knew Jeremy, I knew Josh, I knew Gary. When I say I know them, I meant like I knew their online social presence, and that's it. So I thought I'd volunteer, and I thought I'd meet a lot more friends, but I was stationed. Do you remember the VCon Museum?
Yes.
So I was actually stationed in the VCon Museum for 2 days, and I was the guy. They had actually one of the first mini machines in there, and so I was standing next to that, and I was greeting people, and people would keep coming in and be like, "Oh, what is this? What is this?" And I felt I knew enough about VeeFriends to be like, "Oh yeah, that's the flamingo glasses. Those are that shoe collab. These aren't released yet." The Squishmallows were in there, and I'm like, because people wanted to buy the Squishmallows, then I'm like, I don't know, they're just Squishmallows. They're here and they look like VeeFriends. And it was really cool too because there was like some chair people in there. You know the gift goat chair?
Yes.
So there was like those chair people in there that did the gift goat chair. They were like sizing everybody up and talking these chairs up. So I became friends with them. And it was just a really cool experience. And I asked to be there the next day, and the volunteer coordinator let me. And so like I met Joe Animal in there. Oh man, there's my friend on LinkedIn. I think his name's Mike. I met Mike in there. And probably like the cool thing that like I'll never see the like dividends paid on is, so the first day everyone was really upset, and I've never told this story before, so I'm really happy we're having this conversation. And I'll get into more VeeDads and stuff, but So the first day, everyone would be coming in there and they'd be upset because they didn't have quarters to put in the quarter machine. And like a couple people found quarters. And so after VCon, the first day that I volunteered in the museum, I actually went to the bank because I have a Huntington Bank account. And luckily there's a Huntington Bank in Indianapolis. And I got out like $10, $20 in quarters. And so the
Nice.
next day I was in the museum, people would be coming up and they'd be looking around and be like, man, there's no quarter. And I would just hand them 50 cents to get a mini. And I would just go like this. Shh.
Nice.
Don't tell anyone. And so like I didn't get to know them. They didn't get to know me. There was one guy that I talked to that I thought was really cool. And I tried to I tried to message him on LinkedIn. He does the NFT project or did the NFT project for all right, bear with me for a second. Who's the crazy lion guy from Netflix? You know what I'm talking about?
You're talking about
Joe,
Tiger
is it
King?
Joe? What is it? Tiger King.
Yeah.
And so the girl or the lady that was like the antagonist to Tiger
For
King.
Joe Exotic or whatever his name is.
Joe Exotic.
Yeah.
Joe Exotic's antagonist was Carol Baskin. And Carol Baskin was a big cat lady. And he did, I guess like Carol Baskin has this NFT or did have this NFT project where
Yes.
she made like cats. And so the guy that created that was me and him had like a 10-minute conversation. And
Nice.
I found out he like lives in Canada. I'm like, man, if you're from Rochester, we should hang out, man. And he kept talking to me about The Office. And so like I was trying to link up with him once before I even started VeeDads to see like if we could just be friends. And so I sent him this like Office joke on LinkedIn as a message and he never responded. But he read it, so there you go. Maybe he responded and said, hey Blaze, great to see you. I don't know, but there you have it. So anyways, went to VCon, didn't meet a lot of people. And then when I got back to VCon, I made the commitment to myself there. I'm going to post on Twitter every day for a year. And because like Gary was like, just post. I'm like, I get it, man. I just got to post. I get it. All right.
Yep.
So I start posting and I mean, I probably have like 1,800 followers on Twitter and I'm cool with that. Like, do I want more notoriety? I mean, that'd be cool. I'm happy with what I'm doing. I care more about the VeeDads account than my own personal account because I feel that like I have a really good community through my personal account. If it grows, great. If it doesn't, whatever. But the VeeDads account, I'm like, we only have 297 followers. Tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your wife, tell your cousins, tell any dad you know. Follow. Check us out. Get the Daily Dad. Jump in. Join us in the morning. I saw you jumping in this week. I appreciate you.
No problem.
So that was VCon. And so I get back from VCon. I quit my job. I've almost been teaching nursing school for a year now. And I'm like, all right, I need to get more plugged into VFriends. And so probably the biggest thing that happened to me is I was at a park by my house and I shot this picture and I posted it on Twitter. And then Josh Courage was like, oh, hey, you're at that park? That park's by my house. And I'm like, no way. And so then I start messaging Josh or like make a comment. I'm like, oh, I live here. And he's like, oh, I live here. So like Josh literally lives an 8-minute walk from my house. So
wow, what a small world.
Yeah, he's a V friend, a big V friend, Bison.
Yes.
And I'm like a newly, V friend. And he lives 8 minutes from me. So I always think like I have a lot of love, compassion. And he's also just a great dad and just a great person. And so like I feel very blessed and thankful because like I think being that close to Josh, whether he knows it or not, just gave me a lot more confidence in the community. There was a while every time I would get on Space and be like, oh yeah, I'm Josh's neighbor, Josh Courage, I'm his neighbor, but then I'm like, Blaze, you don't want to be known as Josh Courage's neighbor, but just so everyone knows, I am Josh Courage's neighbor. So there you go. And so I think that was really cool. So we hung out. I remember I'm like, I got to impress this guy. So I was like, hey man, your kids come over. I'll make them some hot dogs. So his kids came over once when his wife was out of town. My wife was out of town and like, I made them hot dogs and his kids played with my kids. And now we see each other all the time. And it's really, we ended up going to the same CrossFit gym for a while too, which was serendipitous. But yeah, so anyways, that's Josh, my neighbor, and he's a great guy, and everyone knows Josh. And if you don't know Josh, you should know Josh. And then from that, I'm like, all right, well, what would a V friend do? I'm like, I know what a V friend would do. A V friend would make sure he's going to New York Comic Con. I got the Squishmallows and all this stuff. And so, oh man, I forget the dude's name, but I linked up with somebody on Twitter. he's like, hey man, you should come stay here in this Airbnb. And I was like, I had plugged in my credit card number to lock in a hotel a 5-minute walk from the Javits Center to go to New York Comic Con. He's like, nah, dude, I locked in this really good deal. We got a sweet B&B, Airbnb. You're going to love it. And it was in Jersey, man.
Wow.
He had me like getting on a train, getting on the Jersey train, getting downtown.
Yeah, nah.
And I'm like, once we're here, and it wasn't like a good part of Jersey. Like, I want to look it up. I tried to like throw it at Gary once. I have to look it up and send it. You have to be like, you'll be like, oh no, Blaze, you're okay. Or you'll be like, I can't believe
Yeah, no, I'm from
Yeah.
Jersey, so trust
Yeah.
me, I know what it's like out there.
Yeah. So, and like, I'm a cool dude. Like, I can get along with anyone. I feel that I can adapt to a lot of different situations. But he was from Chicago, and some of his friends, I think they had a good time, but I think some of his friends were actually like scared to be there at some, or like just like the public transportation piece. I've been to Chicago. I've been in New York City. I think that New York City can be much more intimidating than Chicago. And that's my personal opinion. If someone disagrees with me, I'd love to. Okay, I've never lived in New York City. I never lived in Chicago. I visited both. I haven't been to Chicago in 10 years. There you go. But so yeah, we went out there, went to Javits Center. I still never shook Gary's hand or said hello to him. I've waved to him across the room, and he waved back, but that's it. And so sorry, there's a little minion coming down here. Hold on. Hey, what's up, fam? What's up? Okay, come here. Come say hi to my friend PR. Because this is what it's all about. It's like
Exactly.
this organic authenticity. Because like it's just
Hey,
a part of
how's it
life.
going, buddy?
Say what's up.
Hey, what's up? How you doing?
Good.
Hey, you having a good night?
Kinda.
Kind of, yeah. You having trouble staying asleep?
Because mom's like not like tucking me and my sister to bed yet.
Oh, you been enjoying your summer so far? It just started, right? You happy? You excited?
Yes.
All right, go to bed, or you can lay on the couch. Okay.
See you later, buddy. Have a good night.
Yeah. So that means maybe one of three's asleep. So, anyways, at New York Comic Con, Ryan and me met up because I didn't get I actually ordered 3 pairs of the aspiring alpaca shoes, and they got lost in the mail, and I still don't know where they are. I still hope they come in the mail one day. But then I talked to Corso. Corso's the man. He hooked me up. He sent me 3 more pairs, but they didn't have my size. They only had my wife's size. So girlfriend, who's not even like into VeeFriends, has 3 pairs of aspiring alpaca shoes, and I'm a 9.5. Ryan I traded him some like cards for some 10s, which is really kind of him. So, but anyways, that was me and Ryan's first interaction. Fast forward to December, we were doing a family vacation coming to the city, and VeeFriend, I just messaged a bunch of people. I'm like, hey, let's get dinner. Trying to reach out to some different VeeFriends. I should hit you up. I can't. I didn't hit you up. I'm sorry, but I tried to hit you up for wine night.
Yeah, you did. I didn't make it. That
it's
day.
all right. Next year, locking it in. I'm gonna come pick your ass up. And so I'm just watching. I'm trying to figure out what my son's doing. Hey, don't get hurt, okay? Are you hiding? Okay. All right. So we went to dinner. It was me, Jeremy knows, Ryan. I'm trying to think who Nico or Nika. Do you know Nico or Nika?
I think I know you're talking about. Yes.
He lives like an hour or 2 outside the city. He does a lot of stuff on Amazon. He's a cool cat. And Kowski was there. So
yes,
I think it was the 5 of us. There might have been one more, but I think it was the 5 of us. And it's like, which is like, to me, I'm always telling people the best thing you can do in the VeeFriends community or any of these communities, sit down and break bread with people. Because you never know what conversations you're going to have, just getting to know people. And so got to know Jeremy a little bit. Kowski is like my favorite person in the world. And then like Ryan's walking out, I'm walking out, and I'm like, hey man, like you're a dad, I'm a dad. We should do this VeeDads thing. And he's like, oh yeah, sure. Okay. Or at least that's my recollection. And then fast forward, we start talking about it a little bit, and he's like, "Yeah, we should do this." Or maybe I feel that VeeDads wouldn't be happening, and Ryan might tell you differently, but I think if there was no Ryan, there'd be no VeeDads. And he'd probably say if there was no Blaze, there'd be no VeeDads. I don't know,
I
but
hear you.
so because he like designed the logo, I think that he really pushed me, and maybe he thinks I pushed him. I don't know, but I think he's been a good driver of like, hey, we should do this, this, and this, and I show up and I do my thing, he does his thing, and he's just like a great all around guy. And so first we're just like, let's do a space, and it's cool to see this like build up over time, because like really VDads has only been incepted or created back in January, so 6 months ago, so officially. So we start the spaces for VDads, and I think we just finished week 25 or 26. I feel like I'm making up numbers right now, but it's around that. And so first we're doing the spaces, and it's like, all right, this is really good. So we're just doing the spaces from like my account or sometimes his account, and we like committed to do it. And then so we're having all these conversations, and then it's like, okay, like could we be doing something more? And so I think like we've done some impromptu stuff here and there, and just starting to post more. And it's like at one point it was like, you know what, we should do this like we try to do it in the evenings, to have something in Tuesday afternoons and then something in the evenings on a different day, because we're like, we need to do more than one space a week. And so like we'll probably get 5 to 20 people coming in and out of the spaces on Tuesdays, but like the nights are filled up. I mean, we're fighting with like, giants in the industry. Like we're fighting with Teacher, we're fighting with Chels, we're fighting with IJ, we're fighting with Josh. There's always like some other people. We're fighting with clocking out, and at night, and so it's like, this isn't working out, and so we're like, should we do a different spaces like during the day? And like I have a big problem with time. Like I try to be like very cautious of what I commit to. And I'm just like, man, like, like I still need to get like my job done. I have this like stuff to do with the kids. I don't know if I can commit to another hour spaces. And then we're talking about it, what direction we want to take and stuff like that. And then I don't know how it came up with the Daily Dad, but do you know Dom in the community, Dom Ruiz?
Yes.
Yeah, he's from California. He had mentioned before we should check out the Daily Dad. And I think it was Ryan's idea. Hey, we should get this book, check it out. And then we're like, you know what? This is great content. We can just read this book every day, talk about it. And I think we're like, we should do this every day. We should do it every day. So our goal right now is between me and Ryan, we do it every day. And so some days you get Ryan, some days you might get me. A lot of times you'll get the both of us, but between the two of us, our goal is to do 365 days. And so we're trying to figure out like, I mean, because we would like to do this for years, because we're never going to stop being parents. And honestly, it's probably been like one of the greatest dad things that I feel that I've done, because going back to God, family, work, God, family, work, God, family, work. Do I need to pray more? Can I be close to God? Absolutely. But like as a dad, it's a moment every morning to reflect on, how am I doing as a parent? What could I be doing better? What can I reflect on? And also like being thankful. Like this is mental health month, so it's a lot about like how to build your mental health up as a dad. And so I'm excited to check out some of the different months. But how great is it now? Because in my other jobs, I'd be waking up every morning like, oh my, okay, I got like 15 emails to respond to. I got to go to this meeting. I got this other meeting. I got this meeting. I got this meeting. And I still have lots of meetings, and I still have lots of emails, and I still have lots of work to do. But since I switched jobs, I did take a pay cut, but I have a little bit more flexibility with my schedule. Because like if I'm doing this, if I can't be at work till 9, I can always do some work later, and I'm still going to work like 4 days a week, working from home 1 day a week. But so that's what we're doing right now. And so that's kind of like the spaces that we're doing, but I haven't talked about like, why are we doing this? Why am I doing this? Because I'm starting to try and get like schedule a lot more. And I'm curious if you ever got this question. Because like a lot of the time I don't ask this question for myself unless like I think someone has like ill will or is being a jerk or something. But like I think from watching all your content, I'm like, PR's a good ass dude. Like I want to be a part of what he's building, and I'm honored to be on your show. So thank you.
Appreciate that.
But you think about some people that are like, I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but have you, like, someone's like, hey man, we should go get coffee. And I'm like, oh yeah, like we just met, but like you have kids, I have kids, I work, you work, stuff like that. Like, yeah, like I'm always looking for more dad friends. Let's do it. And then you go and he's like, man, listen, I'm so glad we got coffee. Oh yeah, me too, bro. I'm always like, connect. Like, you want to play chess or Scrabble? No, man, I want to tell you about solar panels. Listen, like solar panels. Like, you need solar panels on your house. I'm like,
Yeah.
what's going on? Like, or
I
it's
know.
like, like Rogan and Fields, man. You ever think about Rogan and Fields? You could be selling like your own creatine right now. It could be Blaze Teen. You know how people are going to get jacked on Blaze? I'm like, what is going on? I thought we were playing a nice game of Scrabble, and you want me to start like licensing and like making my own like health products.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason I ever ask people why. But like, I've been scheduling these interviews and people have been like, why are you doing this? What do you get out of it? And so for me, it's like twofold. One, or maybe threefold. One, I want to grow as a dad. I want to be a better dad. Like in healthcare, in a lot of industries, but I'm from healthcare, so I'll use healthcare. Like almost every meeting I go to, you might spend, like in a 60-minute meeting, you might spend 1 minute recognizing, hey, we did this good. And you might spend, but then like the other 59 minutes, it's like, okay, what are we doing bad so we can be better? Or what are our strengths so we can be better at those? It's always like, how can we be better? How can we be better? How can we be better? And to an extent, I think it's really sad because, well, it's not sad, but being better is great. But for healthcare, a lot of places have replaced servant leadership with lean leadership. And so it's instead of how can I serve my people so they can do a better job, and kind of that like putting the sheep before the shepherd. It's all about like, how can people do more with less? So it's like, okay, I take out this, take out this, take out this. How can they do more? And from it does work in some things, but when you start saying, how few people do we need to get the job done, then you start to bypass some safety stuff. And like money's tight. Like I understand that, and insurance. And so I'm going off tangent, but anyone out there, lean is great with certain things, but just remember there's other ways to do things too.
Yes.
But back to like, why wouldn't I want to be a better dad? So waking up knowing that I can join this group, and we probably have like 5 people that join almost every day. Like Nath is in there, legit Craig's in there, Ann's in there almost every day, Dom's in there almost every day. Paul just started joining a lot. Josh Courage will jump in. Scuba Steve will jump in sometimes. And so we have this like core group. And so Gary's always talking about like, get that long form comment, chop it up, spit it out. And it's like, so we're doing this every day. Like Ryan's one of my best friends now. Like we're almost like business partners, and it's almost like work, but it's like fun work, I guess. I hope this is fun for you.
Yeah, no, I enjoy stuff like this.
Yeah. And exactly, like this is what we're passionate about. Like I'm passionate about being a dad. Oh yeah. So the whole point of this is trying to give my 3 things. The one thing is I want to be a better dad. And I do feel like since I started doing VeeDads, I've been doing more stuff with my kids that I hadn't done before. And I'm yelling at my kids less. I still yell at my kids. Like I have a Nissan Rogue, and when I have the 3 kids, I try to drive my wife's car because she has an Atlas and there's just more room for them to move their bodies. And so like, but her tire popped. I popped it the other day because there's a bubble in it. It was fine. I didn't crash. But they're like, the baby that's 3 likes to lean over and like just like whack at the 6-year-old, and my 6-year-old gets so mad. And like I'm like, every time I'm like, I'm gonna pull this car over, I'm gonna get him out, I'm gonna give him the business and tell him what's up. And then like, so it ends up like me being like, you can't do that, stop hitting your brother. But then the 6-year-old goes and he's like, smack, 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 smack. I'm like, bro, no, you can't hit him like that. Look, and then I'm yelling. I was yelling louder than that because I always tell my kids, listen, I'm trying so hard not to yell at you guys, and if I ever really, really yell at you, it's probably because of safety concern. And I'm like, you can't be beating your brother and smack him in the face like that. And then Brody, the 3-year-old, is like leaning over and like continues to claw at him after I've asked him like 3 or 4 times. And so then I yell at him trying to get up, and everyone's crying, and like my cortisol's up, theirs cortisol's up. And so I'm like trying to avoid those situations. And it's like, if I just had my wife's car, and then, so I'm like, if my daughter sat in the middle, it wouldn't be boy, boy, girl. It'd be boy, girl, boy, separate the testosterone. But then my daughter's like, no, I don't want to sit in the middle. Boys smell, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I don't know. Then I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, maybe I could sit her in the front seat, but she's 7. It's like, I can't put a 7-year-old in the front seat. So
I hear you.
yeah.
It's a never battle. Yeah.
So that's why I like VeeDads, because I want people to know, like, you're going through this. I'm going through this.
Yes.
No one knows what to do, but let's talk about it and feel better about it.
100%.
And then every now and then we get like some nuggets from people sharing the experience of parenthood. Like Ryan started a star chart because he heard me talking about doing a star program with my kids. I'm trying to think. I've adapted some stuff from Ryan as well. There's something he was saying the other day. Like he likes to tell his daughters, you don't make that shirt look good. Wait, you don't make that shirt doesn't make you look good. You make the shirt look good. And so I was looking at my daughter today. She was wearing this Taylor Swift shirt, and she's like, "I look good, don't I, Dad?" And I said, "Nah, girl, you make that shirt look good." And so, like, trying to get in the mindset, like, you don't need these things to make you. You make those things. And so it's just like little stuff like that. I know we were doing these VDAD challenges for a while, but we lost track. But we're always throwing different stuff out there. So the first thing is, I want to be a better dad. I want to help people in the community be a better dad. And the tertiary goal is, and I don't like, I'm very comfortable talking about death, but I feel other people aren't comfortable talking about death. So when I start to talk about death, I get uncomfortable because I think I'm making other people uncomfortable. So if I make you uncomfortable at all, I'm sorry. But as a nurse, if there was one thing that I want everyone to just think about for 10 seconds, not every day, but just in this moment, is everyone's born and everyone dies. That's just how
100%.
it is. Some of us come sooner. Some of us leave sooner. Some of us leave later. I think the saddest thing in the world, and this happens to some people in our community. Craig's very vocal about it too, and I love him so much. And so, like, my heart breaks. I'm trying not to cry. My heart breaks from all the time, because the saddest thing in the world is when a parent has to bury their child. So one of the things that I didn't talk about with my own story is my 3-year-old was born on March 25th, 2021. I got a call from the hospital, and my wife's like, listen, I'm going into labor. And she wasn't supposed to have the baby for 2 months. So, like, a lot of the times, like, you don't know what's going to happen. And she was like, they're going to give me some medicine. It's going to close up my cervix. I'm going to be fine. But you should come be with me. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I told my boss, listen, I got to go. Mom's going to have her baby, or is trying not to have this baby. I just need to go be with my wife at the hospital. I remember I was driving to the hospital. I was really into comic books at the time, and so I was like trying to like buy some comic book online. I'm like driving to the hospital, and it's a hospital I've never been to. And New York is pretty organized with their streets and their blocks. Boston, it's like they put spaghetti and threw it on the wall. You don't know where you're going at any given time. And so, like, I'm trying to get to this hospital, and I get a call from this doctor, and she's like, "Is this Mr. Hirsch?" And I said, "Yes." So all this stuff's going through my mind. Why is this doctor calling me? Like, I was just talking to my wife a little bit ago. Like, what's up? And she was like, your baby's here. I'm like, excuse me? Like, my wife just called me and said the baby's not coming. So why is this baby here? And then she was like, these things just happen sometimes, but I want you to know the baby's okay and your wife's okay. Come to the hospital as soon as you can. And that was it. And she hung up the phone. And I'm like, okay, well, the baby came 8 weeks early. Like, what's up? And so I'm racing to the hospital trying to figure it out. Like, I'm worried about my wife. I'm worried about this baby that's supposed to be in my wife that's not my wife anymore. And I remember I get there, and like, I can't talk to my wife because I'm in surgery. I can't talk to the baby because since he came early, there's this miracle drug that came out. I don't know when it came out. I want to say like the 40s, 50s, or 60s, but it's called surfactant. And because the biggest worry when these babies come this early is their lungs aren't developed enough and they can't get in enough oxygen. So they gave him some surfactant, and his lungs got together or whatever. And he made it through that night. They had to intubate him. And so when he was born, he was like from this finger to like here on my wrist. Like, that's how big this kid was. And so they're like, we think he's going to be okay. Like, we want to intubate him in like 2 or 3 days. And so it's then you have to start checking off all these milestones. It's like, okay, he doesn't have a tube down his throat anymore. They took that out, but he's still on oxygen. He still needs to be in this incubator with humidity and oxygen. And then he gets out of that. And so my wife ended up being okay. She had some stuff going on. She's fine. And then it's like, is my baby going to be okay or not? And so we got through the first week. And after you get for the first week, you're like, okay, I think my baby's going to be okay, but I don't know, like, are they going to be like a normal kid? Hey, what's up, buddy? Yeah, I'm going to tuck you in very soon. I'm just talking with PR. You can lay down here, lay on the couch out there with the blanket, okay? 10 minutes or 20 or 30 or 40, okay? Okay, I'll do my best, okay? So anyways, at that 7-day mark, you're like, okay, I think my kid's going to be okay. I think we're going to make it out of here, but like, how are they going to be? Is he going to be like together mentally? Is he going to be able to see? Is he going to be able to hear? Is he going to be able to taste? Is he going to be able to walk? Is he going to be able to all these things? So like, I'm very blessed. I still have both my parents, and they were like talking to all their friends that had premature babies, and they're like, they're fine. And like, but not all of them are fine. So your mind always goes to the worst case scenario. So long story short, baby Brody lived in the hospital for 90 days. He got out at the 90-day mark. He's been home ever since. And he's like our thickest kid now, like talks, walks. I think that he gets short of breath more than my other kids did. And I think that he might have, he just might need his adenoids out. But from what I can tell, like you couldn't look at baby Brody and be like, this kid came 2 months early. And so at some point I'd love to do something with like preemie dads and just be like, if that happens to someone, call me. I'd love to like just like coach people through that. But anyways, that was probably like a big thing for me, like God family work, where I'm like, I need to start like growing something with my family. That was like where it started. But going back to VeeDads, so again, it's I want to be a better dad. How can we help the community be better dads? And moms too. Like moms can join VeeDads. It's just VeeDads and moms or V parents or V rents who just like wasn't vibing. So we think VeeDads because there's a strong male focus, but we love women too. And then so it goes back to I'm trying to curate something for my family because I'm not going to be here someday. I hope to be here, you know, I'm 36 right now. I hope to be here 50, 60, 70 years from now, hanging out, chilling with my family. And I hope my kids are still alive because, again, that's what I was trying to say is the saddest thing is if a parent has to bury their child. But I'm hoping that with everything that I'm creating, that Ryan's creating, that we're working with these other dads, you as well, you're included, you're in that community, is that our kids are going to be able to look back at this content and be like, wow, my dad really cared about me. You know, like he was going through some tough times and, but at the end of the day, he still cared about me. And like, they're going to be parents one day too. So who knows what parenting will look like in 30 years, 40 years when my kids have kids. But I hope that this will always be something they can look back on and be proud of.
Agreed.
And see what was going on with my dad at that time. Because I see a lot of people putting out all this some social stuff, like they're trying to like stay on topic, build clout, stuff like that. And I know a lot of people like they depend on these incomes and like,
Yes.
Like full disclosure, like I don't ever want to not teach nursing, but if I went part-time one day and I did this part-time or full-time, like I think that would be really cool if I could make some money off of this and help more dads. Cause like, I don't know how much more that I could do right now working full-time. Cause I'm a big limit pusher. I would rather push my limits and fail than not try at all.
100%.
So there's some other VeeDads projects that we're working on. Like, so the crux of everything we do is the spaces on Tuesdays, the daily dad every morning. But Ryan's trying, and I'm trying to jump in like he's trying to do health dads on Fridays, talk about being a healthy dad. We're trying to do wine night once a month. That's this coming Friday. You guys should come 9:30 about the wine tonight. But then there's also, I'd actually like to open up like a marketing branch for VeeDads where we feature different projects. Cause I don't like, we sold like shirts and hats and stuff, but like, we don't ever want to like make money on that stuff. But like, if we could share items that we're using that other dads could check out, and then we're making a little bit of money off of it so that we can like grow. I mean, I bought a spider. I'm eating a spider on Friday. Did you see that?
No, I did not. What now? What?
Okay, so on Friday we're doing VeeDads, and so like we got a rosé and we got a red wine today, and I'm going to share it after I get off here. I told Ryan I'd do it before I go to bed, so people can maybe find the wines and sample them with us. But not everybody drinks. I know there's people in the community that don't drink, and so I wanted to have the opportunity for them to participate in our tasting. And so if you go and you Google weird things to eat on Amazon, the first thing that came up was freeze dried tarantula from Africa. There's these zebra spiders, and they remove
Gotcha.
the venom. Yeah, and they remove the venom. And because Ryan was like, I thought we were gonna sample like a weird flavored Dorito, and I'm like, nah, dude, go big or go home. Like we're doing tarantulas.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And so, but this tarantula costs $25, and like I can buy a $25 tarantula, but I can't buy like a $25 tarantula every day. And so,
Yeah.
and so like you need money to grow and live and provide. So, before we go on any further though, I do want to say like one thing, like my wife is like a beast, and I wouldn't be able to do a lot of the things that I'm doing right now if it wasn't for how successful she was. And I never want to say that like she wouldn't be, I don't even know how to say it, but because she was a doctor and she did all this stuff, and then she joined this startup, and then after a minute she's like, you know what, I think I could do this myself. I wish them the best of luck, but I want to try this on my own. And like we had a conversation one day, and I always come from this place of like we were just talking about, like try it and fail. If you fail, you can always go back, but if you never try it and you never fail, then you'll always be asking yourself, could I or could I not have? And then she is just like, she blows up even more every day. Like the projects and things that she talks to me about that she's working on, like, I mean, she has like, I think 100, 150 podcasts on Spotify, and she probably gets like thousands of listens, give or take, like for her podcast. And so she's always like, what's your listener rate on Spotify? And I'm like, can you ask me in like 6 months or like a year? Like I'm not ready for that conversation, because it's like 6. There's a couple, we have a couple that like got like 30 listens, and we're growing, and I'm like cool with it. But she has like 150,000 followers on TikTok. And so I'm not sure that I would be comfortable with this social media identity if I didn't see her working so hard to do that. But anyway, so now she has her own like she doesn't have her own, but she has this collaborative where she works together with different nurse practitioners and doctors to provide menopause care for people. She has her podcast. She actually has her own AI bot. So if you're like mom or friend, or you know anyone going through menopause, they can subscribe to this AI bot for $10 a month and ask it all these questions about menopause, and they'll answer it as if it was my wife, kind of. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's something like that. But anyways, so the whole point is like, my wife is this awesome entrepreneur, and I don't know if I'd ever be trying to do my own entrepreneur thing right now if it wasn't for her. So that's why, like, if it wasn't for her, I wasn't able to like take a pay cut last year. And she's built something great. I would love to build something great too. And that's not even like a goal of VeeDads, but I just wanted to share, because I think you always want to know, like, if you peel back the onion, like what's behind that, what's behind that, what's behind that. And like, that's a big part of our family and stuff like that. So yeah.
No, I love that, man, because it's rare, man. I actually appreciate when people share things like that, because I co-parent. It didn't work out with me and the mother of my kids, and it's complicated stuff. But at the same time, when you hear from other people that they're with someone that they can actually share what they actually are interested in, and they can work together to actually make it happen, like, that's a big thing to me, because I feel like that's something that I overthink about a lot. Like it's right now, and I keep a lot of what I do with the podcast and what I do with social media and content creating very separate from my personal life, in the sense that I really don't tell nobody that I do podcasting, whether they're friends of mine or family, because in the beginning, like, all this podcasting stuff, it turned into what it is today by accident. It wasn't supposed to be like this. In all honesty, I was into music before I did podcasting. I was an
Mm.
independent music artist. I was doing it for years, but I was only known really like locally over here. So I would be able to get booked for like shows and things like that, and I would be able to make decent money where it was like a side hustle. But as a musician, not a musician, but as a music artist, you want to be out there, you want to do more stuff, you want the attention, you want to be out on stage. The older I got, the more I started realizing that the whole gimmick behind the music industry, or at least at the time, and now it's been getting a little worse, you have to have like this big gimmick. You have to be willing, as much as it's literally exactly how it sounds. You have to show your ass, in the sense that you
Hmm.
have to be willing to embarrass yourself and do things that no one else is really willing to do. And it's not even because of the fact that you care about the music or the craft. It's just the whole thing about attention right now. And it's like you mentioned, there's a lot of other people that are into like different things, and they try to get you in with one thing. Like the conversation you had with the one guy, you thought you going in there for one thing, and then he's trying to pitch you and sell you on something else.
Yep.
So it's like it's kind of hard to find the people who are genuinely interested and genuinely trying to just connect. And then it's kind of hard because now like the new thing is like, oh, just act like you care or make it seem like you do, or you want to. And then when you meet up with them, you realize it's not really that. They're just doing it for the sake of the algorithm or for the sake of the show
Yep.
that makes it look like one way or another. So I understand where you're coming from with that also as well. But at the same time, it's like when you're trying to get into this stuff, it's hard because I always overthink, like, should I tell people what I'm doing or what I'm not doing? Because two things always come to my mind. One, am I even at a point where I should be talking about what I'm doing? It's like you mentioned with what your wife, she has her podcast and all that. And then
Hmm.
like she wants to ask you and compare notes or compare streams and all that. And you get to the point where you overthink, like, you know what, give me some time. And then, once I start building up more stuff, then we can have this conversation. So that always pops in my head when I want to share what I'm doing with people, because automatically, like, I have kids, I have friends, and everyone's on social media. They all know what podcasting's like, and
Hmm.
vloggers and all. They have an idea of it, but what they see is the people that are popular, the people who have 100,000 followers and make like
Yep.
17 videos and podcast a day, and like they have teams, they have groups, they have like all this stuff going on. They didn't see the build up to that. They just heard about them when they were already at that level. So it's hard
Hmm.
for them to process or understand that there's a process to it. There's levels to it. It takes time to build up to all that. So when you come up and you're like, oh, I've been doing podcasting, and they're like, oh, for how long? And you say 6-7 months, and they're like, oh, and you haven't gotten to 1,000 yet, or you haven't broken 100 this, or you don't have a subscribers, or you haven't made affiliate, or you haven't, like, it's all those things that you overthink about, because
Hmm.
in your mind, you understand that you're doing good for starting off and how you're moving, but you hesitate on sharing it because the first thing that people are going to ask is, what are your numbers, who your followers, who's tuning in, who it, like, so it kind of makes you hesitant. And then the other thing is also that makes me stop from sharing it with a lot of people as well, is the fact that I always feel like if it's not that it's not good enough, I feel like once there's like a stigma around this content creating stuff, and it's to the sense that people just believe it, like, you're not doing nothing. It's not going nowhere. And what's the point if you're not having
Hmm.
100,000 people tune in and all? So it makes you hesitant to want to share something you actually care about, when you know that the people you would like to share it with, sometimes they're not like, okay, you're doing something you enjoy and you're having a good time and you're learning it and you're enjoying the process. They don't look at it like that. They just look at it like, okay, but how much money are you making, and how many people are tuning in, and how. So it's like it makes you overthink, because you feel like you want to share something you care about, but at the same time, you don't want people to devalue the small the small victories you've had and the progression you've been getting. And so it makes you hold back. That's why I keep a lot of things separate. But little by little, I've been getting more and more comfortable with the fact that I really don't care. I
Love
started
it.
I used to care so much about, like, when I would stream and who's gonna listen. No, it's right now, and right now it's like, I know it's kind of hard because we're late. To the Moon is having their moon games right now. People are on. Last night I had Joanimal from Carson's Caramels come on,
Yep.
and last night they had Fanatics was on. So it's like those things I really don't think about it. I used to stress myself so much thinking about who's streaming at what time and what day. I got to make sure I don't stream at the same, but it was causing me even more stress doing that, because
Hmm.
as much as I was trying to do it respectfully and to not, like, because right now we're all in the same community. A lot of our supporters, they all show up for one another, you know. So it's a battle trying to get them to show up to our stream over someone else's stream, or thinking about, okay, I don't want that person to think like I'm taking the attention from them, and like all these things come into play. But it just got to the point where I stopped thinking about that, because it's limited. I'm working 2 jobs, and like you mentioned, like, you know, from working a job to then being a parent, and then also trying to balance all that with doing what you have an interest in. But then there's things you have to learn. You have to learn about streaming. You have to try to come up with more creative stuff. Then you got to work on creating the content and taking the snippets and clips, and then work on learning how to edit and all this. It's all a process, and it's something that honestly, it's not fun for the people who really aren't doing it because they enjoy it. Once you realize and you find the thing that you're doing, not enough out. Yes, not enough hours in a day, like Nacho's saying right now on Twitch. I fully agree with you. It always feels like you don't have enough time to balance it with what you have to do, what you know you should be doing, and what you want to do. And that's the whole thing. Like, what you have to do, you have to go to work. You have to make money. You have to provide for your family. You got bills. You got to take care of it. Then what you you have to do in the sense of being a parent, you have to show up. You have to be there. You not only just to be a parent and make sure that they're safe and they eat and that they're okay, but also to give them love and attention and create memories. You know what I mean? And then at the same time, then you're like, oh, I'm interested in this and I want to try this out. And I want to, whether it's something you've done when you were young or whether it's something new that you're picking up and you're trying to learn, there's always that struggle of trying to find a way to have the time for it and balance it properly. And then once you actually have that, then it's the struggle of keeping that and being consistent with it, because then you always have the battle in your head, like, is this, like, what's the point? What am I doing? What's the reason? Is it getting anywhere? What's the progress? And I understand all of the things you're saying, and I can relate to it. And you know, like the things you're doing with Ryan and how you guys are streaming more and doing that, all of that, I love it. Like, what helps me with what I'm doing, at first I stopped thinking about streaming at other times of other creators. I had to get that out of my head, because I noticed that I'm working too much. I only have a certain amount of hours, and it's like now I normally don't stream at this time, and I try to stream earlier because I know around this time To The Moon and everyone does their stuff. But at the same time, this is the only time you're available. This is the only time
I appreciate that.
So it's like, I have to make it work. You know what I mean? Before, I used to be like, I'm only going to stream on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and that was it. But then I would start meeting people that were interested in being guest speakers, and their schedule would conflict with mine, and they would only be free the other opposite days or other weeks or different times. So it's like, I started looking at it more like, I can't keep limiting what I can do just to accommodate other people who I'm not working with. You get what I'm like? I'll always show up, I'll support. I'm a fan. I love what you guys are doing. We're all a part of the same community, so there has to be a form of respect, and I understand that. But at the same time, I can't drive myself crazy trying to fit your schedule when I know for a fact that no one else is going to do that for me. No one else is going to stop the momentum that they have and the things that they have planned out to be like, you know what? Let me stop. Whether I have 1,000 people tuning in or just 2. It doesn't really matter. Like, at the end of the day, you have to do what's best for you and what works for you and your schedule and your timing. And so I that's the first thing that I would like to share that helped me out. I stopped thinking about that. It sucks, and sometimes it's kind of hard, especially when you're a person that really cares a lot and you have that thing of respect. Like, it's going to be rough to be like, you know what? I have to just, as much as it's going to be hard, it's not in a disrespectful way, but I can't be worried about other people and what they have going on. Then the second thing was, as far as the content, what really helped me out, I learned the hard way. The reason I do this, I selfishly started this, and clocking out podcasts. It wasn't even supposed to be clocking out podcasts. I was doing music, and my project that I wanted to do, I had this idea for like my big last project. I'm like, you know what? This is going to be my last thing I do. And if it doesn't get me something out that's with further than the distance of my local area, and I really get something buzzing, I was like, I'm going to take a break from like putting so much time and effort into this music stuff. I enjoy it, but it's to the point where it's just draining me too much, and I'm getting too old. No one really wants to see that. They want to see young people doing this and that. If it doesn't work the way that I see it, I'm going to think of something else. Clocking Out Podcast is going to be the name of my mixtape that I did. And
really?
The whole idea behind it is what I turned it into the podcast for. Was I came up with it like, you know what? This project's going to be the project that I'm going to document from making the beats, creating the songs, recording them, doing the videos, meeting with people, networking. And I was like, I want to give other independent artists that documentary or that vlog or whatever it is that they're missing, that shows someone who's really documenting the process from A to B, and that's showing you, listen, this is how I started in this job that I hate, but I'm also doing this on the side. And I wanted to show that. A lot of people talk about, oh, you have to have your regular job and your side hustle and this, but they really don't show the step-by-steps. You're always left questioning stuff. You're always left going on YouTube looking for tutorials or Googling this and that. So I'm like, what if I just document every day and the whole process, letting people know this is how you balance your work-life balance. This is how you focus on your side hustle. This is how you save. Like, I wanted to go through all that. And the process of doing that, COVID hit. When COVID hit, my whole idea was I was investing money into create a home studio. I was going to do everything in-house, document myself, document the whole journey of this mixtape. COVID happened. None of the producers wanted to link up. No other artists wanted to come by. So I'm like, damn, this is ruining my idea. My idea was to use this home studio for my own project, but at the same time, make side money by booking other artists and all this and documenting all of this buildup. Now, what am I going to do? So then I changed the home studio into just doing stuff for podcasting, because I figured I would be able to document myself just having conversations with people and trying to do beats and all this stuff like virtually. The more and more that I tried doing that, it just started turning into me documenting conversations I was having with people and them like sharing their personal life and their experiences and advice. And at first I just kept it to myself. I'm like, this is good stuff that I could keep, that I could learn from. But then at the same time, I'm like, why am I being selfish and keeping it to myself? Like, if I could
I love that.
I can just share it. So then it started turning into something else, because the more, at first I was just having Zoom calls or calls with people on Discord, or I would do spaces and no one else would tune in. I would just have a conversation with, so it was just that one-on-one thing. And the more and more I kept having conversations with people, the more and more I would re-listen. And it would be hours, like 3-4 hour long conversations. And I would go, there would be nights, instead of listening to podcasts or watching YouTube or Netflix, I would just revisit those conversations. And as I'm trying to come up with lyrics or working on ideas, I'd noticed like gems that they would say and invite things that were really useful. And at first I was just writing it in a book. And then I started thinking, like, what if I just made videos of it and I shared it with people? And then it just got to the point, like, what if I just change this whole clocking out thing? And instead of just focusing on me clocking out, what if I just focus on anyone and everyone who's trying to clock out of their 9-to-5
That's
job?
awesome.
So it started slowly turning into something else. And that's when I realized that I was really just overthinking stuff. And that's the reason I do this. Like, what I get out of this, like what you mentioned with VeeDads, my excuse was I wanted to just get the hands-on experience. I want to learn how to make videos. I want to learn how to speak with people better and network better, because I suck at it. I'm too much in my comfort zone. I want to be able to not only learn from people's firsthand experiences, but be able to utilize that in some way for myself. And even if I can't use it, someone else that I know could probably use it. Maybe they can't. Maybe they don't have the privilege of speaking to you or to Ryan or to Josh or any. So I'm like, what if I did something to just break that excuse where they're able to get to know them enough to be like, you know what, they're not so much of a bad person, I should reach out. Or they know what they're talking about, I should go and support them and check them out. Like, whatever I can do. And I noticed that through a lot of these conversations, that would happen with me. A lot of people, they would come off a certain way, but then when I spoke to them and I got to know them a little bit better, I got a better idea of who they were as a person. What they were really working on and why I wanted to support what they were doing. Like, I feel like when you get to know people on a personal level, you want to support them more. You want to see them win. So I was like, you know what? Why don't I just share these stories instead of being the guy like, yo, you know what? You should go and check this guy out. Why don't I just have something to actually be the proof where it's just, yo, check this out. And if you like the person, go show them love. Go show, you know what I mean? So that with this, it just became a thing of being a selfish thing of just for me. So then I wanted to share everything. And I looked at it like I don't have that much time to be able to have conversations with someone and then try and live stream and be like, listen, yesterday I talked to this person and this is what we talked about. And then try to take notes and blah. So I'm like, yo, why don't I just do it all at once? Why don't I just stream the conversations, record the conversations, and then cut them up later on myself? Because no matter what, every conversation I always have, no matter how long or short it is, I always rewatch and re-listen to it for myself, just because when I'm bored, when I'm at work, when I'm driving,
what speed do you do it on?
So it depends. If I know it's a long podcast, I usually I speed it up a little bit because I go over my part, but once I get to them and I hear something, I slow it down and I take note of it. Or if not, like while we're talking right now, what I used to do before is I would just take note of the question that I asked, look at the time, and then later on go back to it and then get a better idea of what you mentioned, because I know it was a gem or an important thing. But at the same time, I'm like, you know what? Not only is that important to say, but that would make good for a good clip for people. If it's a 2 or 3 hour podcast or episode, I know everyone's going to be like, damn, that's mad long. So instead, I try my best to get the most important parts out of it and put it as clips to share it. Because even if they don't come and listen to my full episode, they'll see a 30, 60-second clip of you and be like, you know what? That's good enough for me to go and follow Ryan and see what he's doing. Like my whole thing was never like, I need to get all these, like at first, that's what it was. I want to get the followers and the viewers. But then the more and more I looked at it, I was like, I'm not really benefiting anything from that. But what I am benefiting from, what I have been, honestly, and what really I enjoy so much more, people will get the clips, or people to go and follow, and they'll be like, yo, thanks to you, I found To the Moon. Thanks to you, I found Josh.
Oh, awesome.
Thanks to you, I listened to Ryan, and Ryan gave me some tips on how to be like, it's those little things. And I like being that guy. I like being the guy that was able to point you in the right direction, that did something that helped you in some positive way. Before yeah, exactly. And I didn't know that I wanted, before in my mind, I felt like, you know, from the way I was raised and everything, and being in music, everything has to be mysterious and no one can know what your next move is. And like, and he's got to the point like, yo, this is stupid. What the hell is, like, who the hell am I to be mysterious and to hold on to, like, who gives a shit? It's like what you mentioned, like the thing that kept coming in my head is, I'm going to die one day. And it's either I can let everyone know exactly what I'm thinking, who I really am, and what I'm trying to do, or I could try and be mysterious and no one's going to know a damn thing. And then when I die, they're going to be like, damn, that's a shame. You know, he should have said something when he was alive. Like, I don't want to do that. And it's the same with my kids. I've had my kids on my podcast in the first season, and I had a conversation with them and all this, because I want to document that and share that with them. I want to show other people too, that whatever you're doing, you could utilize your kids into it. Like the more and more that things were going on, it just became a thing that I just wanted to use as an excuse, one, to get the experience to learn how to stream more, to have better conversations with people, to learn from them, but also be able to share what I know. And then have an excuse to edit. I want to edit, but I don't have an interesting life. I'm not out every day.
I think you have an interesting life. So
thank you. And that's the thing. Like I'm always working and everything. So I'm like, yo, no one wants to see it just go from this to that to this. I'm like, but if I'm able to have an excuse where, one, I can have conversations with people, have fun doing it, streaming, and being able to edit and learn new, that's what I do now. So instead, I just combined all these things that I didn't know I was really enjoying, talking to people, learning about them, and then just finding a way to take that conversation and put it out there to people to help them in some way, but still be able to get the experience of what I'm trying to do from editing and everything. Everything just started working out, and little by little, like, and again, I didn't plan any of this. It just started happening, and I started going with the motions of stuff. And the more and more that what I've really realized, the more that I let go of the thought of trying to have a solid plan and have things go to it, the more things really started happening the way I wanted it to. Like I stopped overthinking about when I was going to stream, how long I was going to stream, what I was going to stream. Like I stopped thinking about that. Now instead, like it's kind of weird now, because before, when I was stressing about it, nothing would happen. Now that I'm kind of just like, you know what, if you're available tomorrow, we're streaming tomorrow. If you're available at this time, and we're doing it that. Before it used to be like, oh, we can't stream that day. So-and-so is streaming, and this is going. I stopped doing that, and now out of nowhere, now I made it to affiliate. Now I'm getting paid subscribers. Now I got like 100 people following on Spotify and tuning in and all. Like it's the more that I let go, the more things just started falling into place by itself. And all I started doing was just adapting to it. But it's like it's going back to like what you're saying with you and Ryan. You guys are going through that, and you guys are still staying consistent. You guys are still focusing on your main goal. You guys are still, and I see that a lot of people can benefit from the conversations you guys are having and the content that you guys are working. And because it's true, like right now, there's more. Whether, no matter how you look at it, from the way that we grew up in our time and our generation and all. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, everybody right now wants to do something. They want to make something theirs, whether it's starting a business, creating content. Everyone wants to tell their story. Everyone has something to say. And it's just some people overthink about it and they hold back. Other people, they haven't found people such as yourself, such as me, such as Josh, such as everyone else in these communities to inspire them and show them, hey, they have a regular job. They have kids. and they're still managing to work on something at some point and make it happen. So it's like, that's why I really try my best to do this. Like, it's not easy. It's not. It does take
No.
time. But when you find a way to do it, and when you find a way to do something that you actually care about and you love, you start finding out ways to carve out that time to make it happen and learn what you need to and balance it properly. And yes, it does get stressful and it does get overwhelming sometimes. But even the smallest victories, like getting a new follower, a new subscriber, or someone DMing you that they appreciate what you said, or that they learned something new, or they're following someone else that really helped them, and all those little things make it all worth it. Those are those little, like, goals that you start reaching that you didn't even know you had. And then it starts getting really addicting to the point, like, you know what, I want to keep showing up for that one person that shows up for the
Yep.
stream, for the one person that was
That one fan, your true fan.
exactly. And that's what I love about what you guys in all these communities, man, because all of us, like, little by little, it's like, you're like, what are they really trying to do, or what's the point behind it, or what's, and then when you really get to know them, you start seeing their true intentions. You start understanding that all these people have a good moral compass and they don't really have bad intentions. They're just trying to figure out what they can do to give back to people, and that's all everyone's trying to do, is just give back.
I want to throw one thing in there real quick, because you were talking about trying all this stuff, and I didn't know the origin story for clocking out with that. I know you had some link to music, but I didn't know that, like, it was supposed to be clocking out and it became this. And so, and I think, and people need to know that stories behind us. I almost want to call it like niche hunting, because
Yes.
like you try a different niche, you try a different niche, you try a different niche, and eventually you'll try so many things that you'll realize you have a passion for a niche and it'll line up. And then people like that's like the perfect pairing, in my opinion, is like passion and that niche that you found. Because like what people don't know is, like, I have a failed comic book Instagram, I have a failed comic book Substack, I have this failed TikTok where I was trying to write I'm gonna have a great day when I was going through like a dark time in my life. I have, like, my EBA is okay. I was on Whatnot. I got up to 1,000 different followers on Whatnot, and during COVID, there was one year I sold $20,000 of comic books.
Nice.
And if I did that today, I'd be lucky if those same comic books even sold for $4,000, because the market shifted so much. And I think it has a lot to do with like COVID checks and different things. But I also owe Whatnot like $600 because I bought some product they said that I could sell and then no one bought it. And then so principally I don't go on there a lot, but they never see that, like, all those failures behind, like, oh wow, these guys just woke up one day and PR probably emails one person. They're like, sure, I'd love to get together with you. And it's like, no, we see you working. I see you grinding. I see your videos. I see all this stuff you're doing. And then, like, same with me and Ryan. It's like, I think some people might think of like, oh, that's really nice. They can wake up and like, nah, dude, if you look at my videos, I'm in my work's parking lot on my cell phone talking to Ryan before I walk into work every morning.
Exactly.
And some mornings I can't even come in, or my kids are hitting me in the face. And so, and that's one of the reasons that, like, I love what you're doing and what you share online. And like, if anyone is following Clock In and Out and isn't following PR, like, I'd highly recommend, because like I love all the stuff that you share on that. Because I get to know a lot about Clocking Out and I get to know a lot about you.
I
And like,
appreciate that.
and sometimes you hit us with the double like, where we get the Clocking Out like and then the PR like.
Yeah, I always try my best. Yeah, I always try my best, man.
And then I think the other like really cool thing, oh man, I lose my train of thought a lot. We were talking about what you're doing. I laughed and I forgot it.
You were talking about how even you always trying to make it. You're always trying to make the stream. You're even streaming from the parking lot sometimes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
streaming from the parking lot sometimes. Just like people just don't understand. They think that me and Ryan just wake up and it's like, oh, we're gonna do this one day, and it's that's not the case. There's a square one. There's something that happens. Going back to what you were talking about before, it's like, until you like talk to someone and understand where they're coming from, then you might be like, okay, I get you. I get where you're coming from. And I think, like, I would say for me, probably personally, because I'm a loving, caring, very open individual. I'm not saying you're not, because I think you are too, but there's some people that aren't out there. Like, if I hear a story, 80% chance I'll like you. There's 20% people that I'm like, nah, this still isn't vibing with me. I'm sorry. That happened to me recently. And I don't want to go into the details too much, but there was an interview that I was supposed to do, and I don't think I'm going to do now, because I was looking back at this individual, some of the stuff that they post on social media. I'm just like, I don't think that the vibes that you put out there is something that I can like align with. And it's I'd be curious for your perspective. I don't want to do name drops or anything like that, but there's a well-known podcaster that's interviewing like a controversial character in media right now. I think you know what I'm talking about. And I just think that's like very interesting because my whole view, but I don't know, like I'm very small.
No, I can share something. I think I know what you're talking about. I had an
Yeah.
experience of something similar. Put it like this: I was gonna stop podcasting when I got back from VCon. That's how bad the experience was when I had
really?
this specific person. It was my first time going to VCon. It was my first time meeting anybody from the space. Like I always met people online, but it was my first time actually meeting people in person. On top of that, I was bringing my best friend with me who was new to the Web3 space, wasn't into any of this VCon stuff, was one of those people like, oh yes, it's Gary V, the guy, the rah, buy this, go this. Go. You know, he was one of those people. And taking him to VCon after, like, when we heading back, he was totally different. He was in love with it. He didn't really care so much about the NFTs and all that, but he was in love with the community. He was overwhelmed with how amazing everyone was and how everyone treated him. But when we first got there, the first experience we had with this one person really kind of messed everything up. It kind of messed up my motivation. It messed up the entry for my friend. He wanted to go home like after we talked.
Oh, it was that bad?
It was that bad because this person basically, I was going around trying, I was doing something new at the time when I was doing the podcast. I was only doing spaces, but my plan was to document my journey to VCon and try my best to, just like now, give people the first person perspective of being there and meeting these people, because it was my first time going and meeting these people and trying to, you know, break out my comfort zone. So I brought my whole vlogging stuff, my big huge camera that's like, you know, come look at me and like, you know, all that stuff. And I met this one person that mistook what I was doing as I was his camera guy. And it went from me just trying to document my journey and my experience to then it slowly started turning into me being this guy's camera guy and following him around, and he thought like I was shooting a documentary for him. And then this person
that's crazy.
Yeah, this person got a little too comfortable with it, that while we were walking, he just started introducing everyone, me and my friend who he just met, not even within 5 minutes, saying I was his cameraman and that me and my friend were his entourage, and he was giving us his bag. Yeah, bro, he was giving us his bags to hold on to and instructing me where to go and what to record. And like, it was just really, it was a bad experience. And I walked away from that. I said, screw it. But then after VCon, when I got back, this same person hit me up and started demanding that I edit and I put out specific videos a certain way.
The same person?
Yes. And what happened was that I told this person, listen, I don't know what you thought, but that wasn't what I was doing. I was like, I did put something together for you because I thought it would be nice. Not to go into too much detail, but there was something going on and he won something. And so I told him, I was like, listen, I did like a little congratulations video congratulating you on winning this and blah, 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 and doing a little background on you. I was like, but the video is like a 2-minute video. It's nothing too crazy. I was like, a lot of the footage that we got is not usable. I was like, you know, I got some stuff for you, but being that my intention wasn't to like be your camera guy, I was like, I kind of just got stuff of me. It was my vlog.
And did he pay you any money at any point for any of this?
No.
Yeah, I'd be like
none whatsoever. And so it was just weird. He was just very demanding, and I everything was through DM, so I have it all. Not only that, a lot of the stuff that was pretty uncomfortable, I have it on video. So I didn't want to. I could have easily made stuff online and put stuff together to be like, look, this is what happened, and this is this. I didn't do that. This person got very nasty, got disrespectful, and started threatening me with the community because he was real cool with specific people at the time, and even till now, that were basically working their way to have specific positions in VeeFriends. And this person got really nasty with me and was like, yeah, you're really stupid, and cursed me out, and was like, started lying, saying that he had connections with Gary and that how would I not want to work with Gary when Gary was working him? Meanwhile, Gary didn't even follow this guy at the time, and
Yeah.
Gary was following me. So I just that right there got me to be like, all right, you're just trying to like threaten me and be like whatever. Then he started telling me that he was going to make sure that I could never get into any of the VeeFriend discords or any of their online events, and that I was going to be black. Like he started saying all this stuff. It was crazy. Then it got to the point that I was trying to just ignore it and leave it alone. This person went out their way to jump on everybody's spaces and everybody's live streams to paint this picture of me and tell this story of a lie that he basically had me, that the whole point of our relationship was for me to make him content and do this and do, when that wasn't it at all. It was just the person that I wanted to have on the podcast. We were going to do a podcast at VCon, but again, like I said, at that time, I didn't do any of this. I didn't do the live stream video. Everything was just spaces. So he took it like I was going to do a documentary on him and then do a specific spaces specifically on him, when that wasn't the case at all. He was working and employed or part of a project, and I already had coverage of that project. But being that the person that I covered, that I had on the episode as a guest speaker, was just the top holder of that project, I didn't interview anyone who was actually a part of it. So he was a part of it, and then he just turned it into something personal himself. He never mentioned his project, what he was doing, what their goal, like none of it. It was just, this is me, this is my life, and follow me throughout VCon. And I'm like, bro, I'm not your camera guy. Like, he started painting that picture. Oh, he just used me for content, and he used. So I started overthinking, in the sense that people are just thinking I'm using them for content. And this was before I even did the video aspect. It was just audio stuff.
Crazy. Yeah.
So it got me really to overthink, like, all right, now after that, he went around and basically, because I got too comfortable with him when I first met him, and I let him know, like, yeah, I'm going to have this person on, and I'm working on this, and I'm working on that. Just when we were regular talking, he went out his way to go and reach out to each of those people. He went into their inboxes. He told them all, don't work with this guy, don't support him, block him, this and that.
Oh my gosh.
Started going on to people's spaces saying the same thing, people's live streams. So then people were canceling on me. People were unfollowing me. People were blocking me. And it's like little by little, it just got crazy. Then one of the people who worked for VeeFriends ended up in my inbox stating that this person was saying this story. It just got out of hand. So then when it got to the point that this person, I don't even want to say that person's name, but that person jumped in my inbox. He's someone in VeeFriends now. And the only thing that I said was, I don't want to do this back and forth. I think this is really childish. I was like, this person got really disrespectful. He assumed this and that. I tried straightening out with him. He didn't like the response. He went out his way to go and tell all these people all this stuff. I only knew about it because the same people he was DMing to say not follow me, this and that, were hitting me up like, yo, you know, this guy's on this space and he's talking about you, or you know, this guy's sending out. I literally had up to like 10 people DM me saying, he doesn't want me to follow you. He says if I follow you, he's not going to work with me, or he's not going to like. It was all this. It was crazy. Yeah. So people kept asking me like, what's your side of the story? I was like, listen, we're not in high school. I'm not going to do this back and forth. I was like, I know I have not only, I didn't tell people, but I knew I had the video footage of the experience. I knew I had all our messages that we had. So all I would tell people was like, if you want to know the truth, tell him to show you our messages. He would never show anyone the messages because of what he says. And it's if I even showed it, it would be very like childish, but it would show his true colors. So in my mind, I was like, if this person really wants to expose me, tell him to expose our messages and our interactions, and it'll show the truth. And if I'm the bad one, I'll admit I'm the bad one. I was like, but I'm not. I was like, but I'm also not going to do this back and forth of who I need to explain. So once that happened, it kind of died down. Like no one said nothing. People would be like, we asked him for the messages and he doesn't want to give it. And I'd be like, all right. So other people left it alone, whatever. But I got so affected by it that I wasn't even going to be podcasting anymore. So I left it alone for a while. Then I met a person who goes by Ben Kind on here.
Oh yeah, I know Ben Kind. Ben Kind's the man. I think I want to say I bought his first piece of art on Twitter. I have this big thing where if anyone's ever selling something and you're my friend, I want to buy the first piece or first thing or be that first person to support you. I might have not been the first. I might have been the second or third. But yeah, I've been Kind's like he's the man.
I had a conversation with him, bro. And this was like I literally at the time it was like 3 or 4 months after VCon. I stopped. Like basically while I was at VCon, I was buying stuff. I was buying like the little plushies that they had, the 6-inch figures, the little mini mystery box things, that like all this stuff, because my idea was I fell in love with being there and seeing all these people. It helped me through a really dark time. My idea was when I got back, I'm like, you know what, for the podcast, I just want to give V-Friend stuff away just to help introduce anyone else to it in the community. That was my plan. When I got back, that whole experience happened with that dude. I sat on all that stuff. I even to this day, I still have it. And I didn't do anything because I was like, you know what? And now anyone in the community is going to look at me like what this guy's painting me as. I was like, it's ruining everything. So I stopped doing it. I spoke to Ben Kine once, like 3-4 months after VCon, and he got me to get back into it. He's like, yo, screw what people are saying, this and that. Like he got me like really hyped up. And I started season 2, and I got into the whole getting back into things and everything. But what happened is that I literally was focused so hard on what people were thinking and what they would say and how, and I realized that at the end of the day, no matter what, everyone's always going to think one way or another, whether they know you or not, that you're doing something malicious or you have bad intentions or you're trying to be slick or whatever. My whole thing that was bothering me, I was literally just doing this just to do it. And I was trying to enjoy the process and meet new people. But instead, someone took what I was enjoying and turned it into something malicious. Like, oh, he's just using you for this and that. And I'm like, that's not even the case. Like at the point, and even till now, and the only reason now I overthink about it also is because of that situation. I didn't have nothing monetized. I don't collect any like nothing. Everything is free. I don't charge anyone for nothing. I always just do the best that I can. And now it's to the point that now I'm getting paid subscribers, and I'm like, what am I going to do with this? Because I don't feel comfortable touching this. So it's like what you're talking about is buying the first pieces of stuff. That's where I came up. Like I had this idea for a while, but I didn't know how I'd be able to utilize it. Now what I'm doing is any of the paid subscribers, any of the donations, any of the money we get from ads or whatever the hell, all of that, I want to put it towards like a pot where any guest speakers such as yourself or Josh or Ryan or anyone who comes on and they have their own project, business, brand, or service, or whatever it is, I want to buy into it. I want to buy at least 3. I want to keep one in the safe of the podcast for the life of it to show that we've always been supporting you. And I want to give awesome. I want to give 2 away out to people so that one, people not only can get introduced to you, but also have something to get an experience. Like everyone, when it comes to V-Friends, everyone is like, I have to own a V-Friends to be in it. You don't. But at the same time, I understand the mindset of having that. Like you have to have something. You have to have the cards or some of the merch or an NFT, or like you get into that. You want to be a part of it, even though you don't need it to be a part of the community. So I'm like, you know what? The reason I got so into it is that my first time having anything, Gary gifted it to me. I didn't have a digital wallet. I won. I didn't even know. I was on the Discord and he was like, I'm giving you an NFT. What's your wallet? Oh, wow. I didn't know what the hell it was. So if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have had an excuse to make a wallet. I wouldn't have had my first interaction or first experience getting an NFT and all that. So in my mind, I'm like, the same way that I got introduced to it by getting something for free and being so grateful to be a part of this community, I want to do the same. I want to be.
What NFT was it?
He gave me an NFT. The first NFT he sent to me, it was a bomber. What was the NFT? It was called Bomb or something, and it was like it was a Deadhead's Bomber jacket NFT. But I messed up because I created a wallet. I didn't know anything about MetaMask. I created a Coinbase wallet or something like that, and he sent it to the Coinbase wallet. And I was confused. I'm like, I didn't get the NFT. He was like, I sent it to you, bro. Like, and this is Gary talking to me through DMs. Gary, step by step himself, helped me create my wallet and do all this process and everything. But I did it wrong. Instead of MetaMask, I did a Coinbase. So the first one he sent me, he's like, I sent it over. I didn't get it because it was the wrong wallet. So then he's like, not a problem. This happens. He helped me through the steps of making a MetaMask specifically. Then he sent me another one, and it was a it was called WTF Strawberry, which is like, they're these weird pixelated strawberry looking things that are pretty cool. But the thing that made it interesting is that the NFT you can use to play in a video game that they had. So it was the first like NFT that I was introduced to that would let you utilize your NFT in a video game that was like Game Boy style type stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I loved it. So when I got into that, I got my firsthand experience with NFTs, transferring and understanding that process. I started, being that I had some skin in the game, thanks to Gary gifting me that, I was able to get a better understanding of NFTs, of blockchain, of crypto wallets. And it got me addicted to it. And then other than that, it was my first real entry into the space as far as VeeFriends, and having so many people be willing to, I'll help you with this and I'll teach you how to do that. And don't worry, I'll share this information. And I fell in love with it. And it was at a time that I felt like I wouldn't find anyone that was willing to help me or would talk to me or would motivate me or would support me, and I got all that from a whole bunch of strangers I didn't know from a hole in the wall. And it blew my mind. And I was like, you know what? I need the same way that I was in a really dark place and all these people came just because of this free thing that I got from Gary Vaynerchuk. I was like, I want to be able to do that for someone. We all don't know how bad things are or how good we have it until we meet someone who has been through worse. And at that time, like I felt like I was like I was going through a lot of depression, a lot of stuff. Like it was a lot of mental health stuff. And if it wasn't for the VeeFriends community and the experience that I was having with these people, like hands-on and in person, I wouldn't have, I probably wouldn't even be here, to be honest with you. And I kept looking at it like I want to be able to give that to somebody. So that was like the whole idea behind it. I'm like rambling on, but
Oh,
the
you're good.
whole
I love hearing the story. I do
the
got to go
whole
to bed in like 5 minutes. My wife has sleep.
Yeah, I know. Me also. Trust me. That's why I'm like I'm overthinking about it. I'm seeing the time. But basically, what it came down to was I just, from all of this and just like what you guys are doing, the whole thing is like I want to be able not only to inspire people from hearing other people's stories and being able to see how you're able to push through and persevere through whatever challenges you're facing, or anybody else, whether it's getting funds to start the business or having the time to start creating content or any of that. But at the same time, I want to introduce the best that I can to VeeFriends community, because it's like you're saying, sometimes you have those people that you come across and you have that bad experience and you don't know what their intentions are, or you don't know how it's going to go. And then you agree to something. And then the more and more you start taking some time to do that research, you start realizing that you guys don't align in the same thing. And you start questioning, like, I don't know if I should do this and do that. I say follow your gut, because like I mentioned with that experience I had, I kept having these feelings like, yo, something about it's not right. I don't like this, but I kept pushing through because I thought I need to push through my comfort zone.
Yep.
And then I realized I should have just followed my gut, because it wasn't even anything about that. It was just something that I realized I shouldn't be mixing my energy or putting my time with this person, because something isn't right. And the more and more time went on, I realized I was right. You know what I mean? So if you have a feeling or something's telling you like you shouldn't be a part of this and it might not go with your moral compass, I say follow your gut, bro, and don't do it. Don't overthink it and feel so bad about the other person or what they might think. Be honest at the end of the day, because actions speak louder than words when it comes to things, and sometimes people will mistake it and think they can take advantage or think they can talk to you in certain ways. And I'm a big person against that. I don't like people trying to take advantage of other people because of their actions, especially when they're trying to show kindness and people take it as a weakness and they try to take advantage of that. So don't ever feel bad, man. If you ever have a feeling like you shouldn't be doing something with someone, chances are you shouldn't, man. I'm telling you.
Oh, I appreciate that. I know that going back to like the beginning of the conversation, we're talking about clocking out and just learning from like the experience of, because again, like I still clock in and out, but it's been getting more and more on my own terms. And so I just wanted to encourage anyone that's listening to this. The first step is just starting. I'm a big plan person. Like I'm big on evaluation. Like, okay, let's do this for a week, evaluate. Let's do this for 2 weeks, let's evaluate. Let's do this for 30 days, evaluate. And I always tell myself, okay, if it goes back for a week, that's fine. If it goes bad for another week, that's fine. But you have to have that moral compass of like, okay, if this is going bad for like 3 months and I'm not having any growth, like, do I keep grinding, or how long am I going to grind for? And it's about like pivoting and stuff too. So I just want to encourage everyone, if there's something that you've always wanted to do, just try it, just do it. And if it doesn't happen, that's fine. But then you'll never keep stepping back and saying that I never tried. And then one thing that you were saying, Gary was talking about something. And there's something you said like 20 minutes ago. I don't know. It's going to come to me, but it sounded like you were doing something that Gary's talking about now, but you were doing it first. So I love that.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, I mean, I don't know. I've gotten a lot of ideas through Gary and all the stuff that he does, man, and a
Oh,
lot
it's
of
live streaming content. Because you were
yes,
talking about, I'm doing this by myself. Why don't I just share it to everybody as I'm going
yes,
through it, and they could
yes.
benefit from it?
Yeah, that's and honestly, that's the reason I did is because I wanted to do live streaming. So I was like, why don't I just live stream the conversations? You know what I mean? And I don't know if this will help you guys out because it's like you're saying, you know, you do long form content and you chop it up into pieces, and that's what I started doing. I always kept thinking that's what I was doing, but the more and more time, oh, you're real quick, Nacho, thank you for using the stickers. I didn't think anyone would know about these new stickers that I got, and I went through this time of trying to design all these new stickers for the subscribers. So thank you for noticing and
Oh
trying
man,
them
I'm gonna
out.
have to go back and look at the chat.
Yeah, you see, I have all this. I've been trying to like hint at some merch that I have that I've been working on.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
I turned them into stickers that the paid subscribers can use for the tier one. So like logos for shirts and hats and stuff. So I figured that would be a way to like tease some things out there to people. But I'm getting off topic, but I don't know if this will help you guys with what you're doing with VeeDads and your daily stuff. But basically, I literally because it's hard to go around and vlog and then try to stream and do it. So what I try to do, and another thing that I play around with, and many people don't tune in. And sometimes I don't save it, but I always download it and edit it myself later. I literally just try to live stream everything that's happening, or anytime that I'm going to talk to myself, instead of just recording myself and making it a post, I try to just go live, even if no one tunes in. And if someone comes in, fine. But I always go live. One, it gives you an excuse to go live. That's something that goes out there and people will always see it. Two, you can always go back, download the live stream, cut it up into pieces, and get rid of all, like, you know, the dead space and all that, things like that. But it's like you mentioned, like Gary says, you know, it's document versus create. And when you get into that mindset, sometimes you overthink, like, oh, you're always the guy with the camera and you always have to record everything. Doesn't always need to be show everything and show all. But whenever you feel like you're gonna have, because we all have those conversations where we talk to ourselves, period. I don't care who you are. I feel like all of us, we all talk to ourselves, whether it's to self-analyze, to motivate ourselves, to break things down and try to get a better idea of what we need to do. But in those times that you feel like you're going to have those conversations, throw the camera on, or even if you don't want to go live, and just record yourself. And then later on, go back to it and chop it up. Because I guarantee you, you're going to say something for yourself or for someone else that'll definitely help. That you're going to be like, wow, I didn't even know I had that in me. I didn't
Oh, I
know
love that.
that I would, you know, and that's the trick I started playing around with, because I honestly, till this day, feel like I suck at talking and asking questions and all that, but I try my best to get better at it through
No way,
this.
you're killing it.
So I appreciate that. And that's why, like, I try my best to just do this. I go back and I listen to it. Did I ask good questions? Did I respond good enough? Was I, you know, all these things that I overthink about, and I go through it and I analyze it. So if there's, if, and also again, man, like I mentioned before, I'm not good at all this editing stuff and everything, because I still feel like I have so
Bro,
much.
come on. Like, I am gonna fight you. So this, like, look at the time. There's 7 billion people on this earth, and you are probably in the top 5% of people that can edit. And yeah, I'm including the people that don't know how to edit videos at all. But like I would say that I'm below average. But I think that if I worked on it for a month, I think I'd be average. But you're
Yes.
above average. You are above average in editing content. Like, I can't do the thing where it's like, look at this, look at this, look at PR's great face, look at his merchandise you should buy, look at this daily dad book that you should be buying from the link on Blazes page, or like something like that. Like, lots of people can't do that, and it would take them. You got to download the software and blah 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 blah. So like, I hate negative self talk, and I'm gonna, like, you're in Jersey, right?
No, I live in New York now. I'm in Long
Okay, well, I'm
Island.
jumping on my ass on a train. I'm coming out there, and I'm gonna shake you. So
Nah, I hear you though, man. But again, it's those things that I feel like I'm always gonna be a student and I'm never gonna be good enough, because I'm
yeah,
always trying to chase that. But at the same time, it's also just a repetition thing. It's also just the more excuse I have to edit, and the more like pressure I feel like I got to get this out today for this person. I'm
mm-hmm.
not getting paid. I don't, like, I stress myself sometimes about it. Like,
Yeah,
I gotta do this. I gotta, and then everyone's like, bro, what do you like? I'm not paying you.
yeah.
There's no deadline. There's no, not like, relax. But at the same time, it's like I feel that pressure, because like this community and these people that are online are the only sense of motivation I got and support
Yeah.
that I have. Like I mentioned, no one out in my real life knows that I'm doing this. So it's kind of like one of those things that you just want to make sure you're always showing up for everybody. So, but yeah, man, I know
And full disclosure,
No, go ahead.
Ryan does all of our video editing, and the stress that you were just talking about. Sometimes I talk to him and I can sense that stress in him.
Yeah.
So I'm just like sitting here like, oh yeah, living my best life. But like I'm also not the video editor. But I'm gonna
Yo,
learn. I'm gonna learn.
yeah.
I'm gonna help Ryan. And then we're gonna have this conversation again in like, 6 months or a year and be like, man.
Bro, I'm telling, if you want to use something that I found, this is I've used everything. I've done Adobe, I've done freaking the one thing I was stuck on because it was free, but it literally has so many limitations, but it forced me to be good was iMovie. I used that for years. But there's only so many limits. What I use right now, and it is amazing. I recommend it to anyone. And the free version is just spectacular compared to anything else that's free. Is CapCut.
Oh, I knew you were gonna say CapCut. I knew you were gonna say CapCut.
But what I didn't know was CapCut on the phone. Yes, it's cool and everything. CapCut on desktop is a beast.
Oh wow.
I didn't even know it existed, and when I downloaded it, I'm telling you, you feel like you're using an advanced version of any other video editing. It has everything. You're worried about the music and everything. It has copy-free music on there, like thousands and thousands that you can use, from stuff with words, stuff that are just like lo-fi instrumentals, whatever. Any sound effects you want to use, they're on there. Any green screen effects, they're on there. All the stuff with the memes that you see people use, and they can, it's all on there, and it's all for free. Like literally all it is just going on there. And you want to do a video where you're flying like Superman, go do record the videos, like make a fool of yourself. Who cares who's watching? Put it on there and just play around with it. It sounds complicated, bro, but I'm telling you, I don't know what magic or what voodoo CapCut has, but it literally, like any other software that I've used to edit, they make it seem so complicated. You have to cut this out and do. CapCut does it in the most simplest way that I honestly feel like it's just going to take over, and a lot of people just don't know about it because they're limiting themselves to the mobile version. But once you get the desktop version, I'm telling you, you're going to see how easy it is to edit. It seems like it's complicated and everything, but all the little fancy effects and all that, the more and more you play with it, the more you start understanding, okay, I know to put it here. I know how to make it come up. I know. But that's all I've been doing. And again, it's one of those things that because of the fact that I keep interviewing people and I keep having them on, I keep trying to find new creative ways to edit videos to better represent them. Like whether it's the music or the coloring or the little effects that I try to do stuff that's related to them, to give them a better, like, people, because whenever I do the clips and I tag people, I try my best to keep myself out of it, because again, I just want the focus to be on the guest, on what they're doing, on who they are. So I just sort of focus on them and do effects of whatever their background is, whatever their interests are, the music to go along with who they are, what they're talking about. Like, it's little things like that it sounds like it's not a big deal, but that's what really makes the video stick more to that person and change. And I've noticed that the more I've done it like that, instead of trying to focus on me and my podcast and having my logo be the first thing that comes up and all those little things, I've noticed that more people gravitate to it because you're focusing on your guest, and then people are showing up to see your guest. So if you focus on just them and making them the center of attention and everything, you're going to get people watching and listening and commenting, because they're and then they're going to be curious on who you are and what VeeDads are and who the guests are, and who the hosts are, because they're like, we don't see this person, but we always see them interviewing other people. Who's behind it? Who did this? Who did? So it's like all these little things, like I learned the hard way that it helps, and at the same time, like, not thinking about what time you have to post or what specific niche or if there's a topic you have to specifically, like, all that stuff. Like, it's good to keep up with the algorithm, but it's hard when you do that and then you have followers and then you got to keep up to it. So when you find your own way to do it yourself and what you're really interested in and what really like sticks with what your core focus is, like, you just keep doing your own thing and you don't even have to think about the algorithm or time or people or none of, like, it just starts falling into place, man. So, but I'm telling you, I don't offer to do things for people because I still feel like I suck. That, and the other thing is too, like, my time is so like stricted that I'm like, yo, I don't want to promise them something and then not be able to execute it. And then I feel like, you know what? I told them I was going to do a video and now it's 2 weeks later and I'm still like, so it's like little things like that get to me and I worry.
I told you there's this project that I want to work on. I'm going to send you some videos soon. I hope that you'll help me edit them.
Yeah, I'll check.
I
I'll do
hope.
what I can, bro.
And then like maybe like 5, and then I'll be like, man, these are awesome, and I'm gonna pay you for these, and I'm gonna pay you for those. I don't know, just think about it. But
I got you. But I
I
know it's getting late. I
yeah,
know we got to wrap things up and everything like that. So right now, I just want to give a shout out. Nacho's been kicking it with us in the chat here on Twitch.
Nacho, what's up, bro? Good to see you,
We
sir.
got 2 or 3 people kicking it with us on YouTube. We got 34 people kicking it with us on X right now.
Oh, it's crazy. That's awesome.
So, but before we get out of here, I know we spoke a lot, and you actually hit a lot of the stuff that I was gonna ask you. But I know for a fact I'm gonna want to do another episode with you whenever we get the chance. But before we get out of here, is there anything that you want to say to the people who are tuning in now, who are listening to the to the recording or watching this episode on YouTube or on Twitch or on Spotify? Is there anything that you want to send out to the people to either share about what you guys have working on coming up with VeeDads, or any ideas, or there's anything you want to give out there for advice to any fellow creators or people who are hesitating to take that step that you think will help them in any way?
I don't do this a lot, but I think that I need to do it more and be comfortable with it. And not all the time, but if there's anybody out there that our stuff at VeeDads resonates with you, please like and share. We're almost at 300 followers, and like I'm not the type of person that's going to be like 500 followers, 1,000 followers, but like for the logarithm stuff, like the biggest thing, like I said, like VeeDads is helping me be a better dad. We want to help other people be better dads, and we want to grow our community. So that'd be appreciated. If people don't feel led to do that, that's fine. Like I used to have a lot of trouble dating, and I got to the point where I'm finally like, you know what? I never want to be in a relationship where I have to convince someone to be with me. And my wife knows that. I know that about her, and we love each other very much. And I'd never want to date again, hopefully. But I think that was like a real like growth mindset thing for me, and like going into like work and stuff too. It's like, you don't like how I'm doing. Like I know what my core values are. Like I saw you, God, family, work, God, family, work, God, family, work. That doesn't agree with you and how I'm living my life. Like you move on, I move on. We'll do our other stuff. So that's the one thing. And then for anyone that, so I have been reading Gary's new book, like Day Trading Attention. I'm on chapter 3. If anyone's hesitant about starting anything, don't hesitate to shoot me a message. Like there's a project that I tried to do probably like 8 months ago with one of my kids, and because there's like all these kids that like play with like Paw Patrols and do like mystery boxes and stuff like that, and like I was trying to do something with my kids, and somebody said something like in my like somebody I know in real life like said something that like hurt my feelings, and so I stopped doing it. And I'm just like, man, like what if I stuck with that? And I'm like, no, I'm doing what I'm supposed to. Oh, I'm gonna get yelled at here in a second. I'm doing what I'm supposed to. That wasn't for me. So like it really resonated what you were talking about. I don't know what I should share with people. I'm trying to challenge myself right now, and I think you should too. It's like you got 80 followers here, you got this many people. Like you can speak to what you're doing, and you can say that you're having an impact on people. Like you've had an impact on me, and you're helping other people grow. And so I think that you're doing a great job, and don't be scared to share your stuff. I mean, you just need that first like 25, 50, 75, 100 followers or fans. Hit me up, hit PR up. He counts as 2 because he has clocking out as well. I have VeeDads. There's 4. So, you get 6 more people and there's your 10. Like just start from there. And I think, yeah, I'll stop there because I don't go on tangent. I'm getting yelled at, but
I hear you.
yeah.
But yeah, yo, so everybody, if you're interested in VeeDads and you want to go show Blaze some love, all the information of all her social media, and as well as for VeeDads, I'm going to have in the description of wherever you're listening or watching this podcast episode. Blaze, thank you so much. I know you got to go and do your daddy duties. Everyone else who tuned in to the podcast, thank you so much. Nacho, thank you for tuning in. Brett, thank you for coming in last minute, man. I really appreciate the love and support. And anybody else who's listening to this, I really appreciate you guys. Please go and show Blaze some love with a follow. Go and check out VeeDads. We're definitely going to have him come on again, maybe even with Ryan, so we could do like some little extra stream. That would be great.
Double dad.
So again, I love you guys. Have a great night.
Love you too, brother.
Blaze, thank you so much for coming on. Everybody have a great night. Stay safe. I love y'all. Peace.
Appreciate you.